Every person has a story, but not everyone has a place to tell it. I've interviewed amazing people all over the planet. I want you to meet them.
Hi, I'm Jeremy, and I'm the most interesting person you've never heard of because my wife and our 3 kids and I have lived in Tanzania, East Africa, in the middle of somewhere for the last 11 years, and we're still here.
Well, Jeremy, welcome to the most interesting person you've never heard of podcast.
Thank you.
Because you definitely qualify.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, we're going to find out. But yes, you totally qualify. Here, you're also the first family member I've had on this. Cheers. You're the first Swoboda clan to be on the podcast. So I think we're 45 episodes in or something like that.
Wow.
I've avoided it that long.
Okay.
Because there's a crew, as you know.
I know.
We have a bit of a crew.
I was going to ask.
And we have some interesting people.
I know. Are you going to get in trouble?
Yes, your mom especially is right now really pissed.
Oh, no.
Georgia, my sister, she loves the camera. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned her several times but I have mentioned her more than anybody on this podcast because Julia Sweeney, who was Pat on Saturday Night Live, was on here.
Oh, right.
She grew up with George, and so lots of people I know have been on here. Gavin Cooley went to school at Georgia. She comes from a very accomplished class of people at Gonzaga Prep, so that was part of it because I've had a lot of those people on. But you're the first, and
wow,
I just want you to tell me and everybody what you've been doing, where you've been the last 11 years. Because it is unbelievable to me. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. So the last 11 years, my wife and I and our kids, 3 kids, have been living in a rural village community in Tanzania, East Africa.
Wow. So where is that closest to in terms of Europe or?
Well, most people know Kenya.
Right.
So Tanzania is right below Kenya. East Africa, so on the coast, obviously south of Europe and
Are you on the coast or are you inland?
We're inland a little bit. Yep.
So how many hours does it take you to get to the coast?
From our village, it's interesting. If you were to look on a map, we're about 30 miles as a straight shot. But to get to the ocean, it's a bunch of
crazy
windy roads and a couple hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's it like to live there? What's the terrain like? What's the weather like? How is it different from Spokane? Because you grew up here.
Right.
I mean, right.
It's not that different really. No.
It's exactly the same. How is it not different?
Well,
an easier way to say it.
Right now with this heat wave we're having here, it's
feels like home.
Temperature wise, it's getting close, but if you add in the humidity, so very, climate wise, it's always in the 80s, 90s, and about that to 100% humidity. And so it's hot and humid.
And this isn't just you that's there.
Sure.
This is your family.
It's our family.
So take me through the clan and what this has been like for you and what this has been like for Janelle and your kids.
Wow, that's a big one.
I know. I didn't say it was going to be easy.
Right. So Janelle and I, back up a little bit, and a lot happened. I'm skipping over leading up to when we first went back in 2013. But when we finally first left the States and headed over, we had a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, Paul and Wesley. And the way we describe it to people is it was like jumping off the deep end
of a pool.
I mean, we went knowing nothing really other than a few things that we had read and that we had been prepped for by our organization. But I mean, it's like anything, until you experience it, there's not a whole lot of there's really no way
no comparable
to be ready for something like that. So it was really, really hard, especially those first 2 years, going to a foreign place, everything was different. Just literally everything was different. And we didn't know the language, didn't know the culture. We arrived in Dar es Salaam, the main city, stayed, and it was evening when we got there, during rainy season. We stayed one night with our team. We came with others as well. It wasn't just my family.
You were the only ones, yeah.
And stayed one night in the city and then headed down south to the remote area. And so we went right in, and it was crazy. It's crazy in a lot of ways.
Probably not unlike a military mission. Somebody that gets dropped into like, okay, you're going to Vietnam. You prep as much as you want, but until you're there,
sure,
it's got to be just such a shock.
And the difference being maybe we had little kids with us too, so that was, we're in a village setting. There's no running water. There's no electricity. There's no cell phone. We had a toddler and a 3-month-old baby, and so even just things like, where do you put your baby down for a minute that's safe? We've got scorpions, we've got lots of different things, and we were forced to really trust God, and He met us in some incredible ways during that first 2 years, and taught us a lot. And actually one of the it sounds kind of funny, but one of the craziest things or most stressful parts early on was diapers. We got two kids in diapers, and we're in the middle of nowhere. You can't go buy to,
you're not running to
Walmart or Safeway or whatever.
Right.
So we came knowing that. So we came with a whole tub of cloth diapers, and didn't realize that cloth diapers, we knew we had to wash them, but we didn't really have an idea of what that would look like until we got there. And so we have a plastic basin where we're getting water that we collect off our roof from the rain, fill that up, wash these things, and then hang them to dry. No dryers, and it's rainy season, so you can't hang them outside because it's raining all the time.
It will never.
They won't dry. So we literally that first year had just strings. We had a little tiny house, a little village house, and
like, how big? How big is this room?
It's bigger than the house, bigger than this room. Yeah, but picture like 2 10-by-10 bedrooms.
Okay.
10 foot by 10 foot, and then a little larger sitting room area, and then kind of like a little outhouse type thing we had for a bathroom. Anyway, so we had to just run lines in our main room to just hang clothes and diapers.
Right. Yeah.
And to where you can't. We have a video of Paul when he was 2. He was the only one who could walk around freely because he'd walk and fit underneath the lines. So I have a video of like just kind of showing people what our house looked like then. Like, Paul, take us around, and all you see is just clothes, and diapers. And so
wow. So learning to adjust to everything.
Learning to adjust, yeah.
So you go there really on a mission, right? You go there to because you were called in some way to do that. And I how is it different now from when you went there thinking we're going to do this thing? What have you learned in terms of how you approach the people, how they've approached you? I mean, this is a loaded question. I could talk this will be probably the last question I ask because it'll take you forever to answer it. But
right.
You know what I mean? Like, you go there. How old were you when you got there? Like 30 something?
Yeah.
Early 30s?
I was 30. Yeah. 31.
31. Yeah. You're 43 now?
42.
42.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Well, yeah, what? Because when we talked last week, you're like, we kind of got this dialed. You didn't have it dialed when you got there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we have it dialed either now.
Okay, maybe
We're
not.
still learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, yeah, that's a lot there to unpack. I think looking back, it was so helpful coming in with the posture of learners. We had a learner's posture, so we're going in first off to learn from the people, and
Not to tell them how to do it.
we don't know how to live here. We don't know the language.
We need your
We don't
help.
even know what the needs are, and so we want to come in and openly, with the posture of saying, "Hey, teach us how you guys live. We don't know how to do this. We're from a different place, a different culture. Teach us your language." And so having that as a posture was helpful, and in terms of just surviving. A lot of the first few years were just more survival and learning a lot, and building relationships in the community, and of course learning the language in that, and then also as we're there, living there among these people, learning what are the needs, and there's a lot of needs.
What are they? Give me top 5.
Yeah, I mean, you hit at so in a from a humanitarian perspective, medical, education, just agriculture. They grow what they eat, so they're agriculturists.
There's nothing to eat if they don't grow it.
Very little. I mean, there's the local fruit trees and a few things, but yeah, if you don't plant your own farm, if you don't grow your own food, you will struggle to eat. So for these people that we're working with, most of their life is actually just spent surviving and doing things that are geared around surviving and survival.
It's day to
day, and so yeah. So there's a lot of needs. The education system is a mess. The medical situation, access to
clean water.
Access to clean water is a huge one. Yep. And that actually was one of the ways we later on started to get involved in and help bring in.
That was an area where they're like, we could use your help.
Yeah, and where we had a friend who was drilling wells. Also, that was his main ministry, and so we did some wells, and
wow.
And a lot of this has turned into now. So kind of looking back, starting as learners, and we're still continuing with that posture, but also now we've been welcomed, by the community. They know us. They know who we are. It was crazy early on. People had all these strange ideas of why would Americans come and live here? Because everybody there, their dream is to come to America, the U.S. It's like, why would you want to come here?
Yeah.
And there's got to be something in it for you. You're either here to try to find precious gems or metals or whatever, or what one of the rumors we got when we started trying to learn their language was, oh, you're trying to learn a language because you want to take it back to the U.S. and sell it. And as soon as we got that, we're like, wait,
what are you talking about?
Trust me, nobody in the U.S. would buy your language. I mean,
the language.
This is a language that's never been written. It's only used there. And so
interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if that
no, it does. I mean,
feel like that's a little bit.
Why did you go?
That's a good question.
Do you remember the day you're like, I'm going. We're going. I mean, that must have been a wrong process, but
I love that question because it's all God. I mean, it's all about God. Backing up way before that, I had a pretty radical experience transformation experience where Jesus changed my life. And I knew from that experience that, and this was when I was 20,
right?
19, 20.
Yeah. And you were having a tough time. I remember this.
I was, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Got into, a lot of stuff. And partying, drugs, alcohol, and the world. What did the world, looking to, what did the world have to offer?
Feed the tank that way.
Yeah. And always coming up short, always coming up empty. And so that's a part of my testimony. But so when I finally got to a really low place, I cried out to God and asked, really asked him for the first time, Jesus, are you real? Are you really who you say you are?
You remember saying that?
Yeah. Show me. If you're really real, if you really are the way, the truth, the life, show me, please. I need to know. And he met me. And I had been sober for 3 months before that, so I know I wasn't on anything.
But did it feel a little hallucinated? Like, oh, what's going on here?
Oh man, Frank, it was.
What was it like? What happened?
It's one of those things again.
Undescribable.
Like the presence of God. It's like. In that
Where
moment,
were you? Do you remember where you were?
I was in my apartment down here in Browns Addition.
No way.
Yeah, living with a friend of mine.
Did you get like a wave of?
It was the best way I can describe it is in a lot of it was like in a moment. Everything that I had been looking for, everything that I had been searching for, was more than met. And for the first time inside, not just my body, but inside me, Jeremy, I felt life come in and I felt joy for the first time. And more than that, it was him, like the presence of God came and it was like he just gave me a big hug.
A physical, you could feel it.
Tangible. Yeah. I didn't see a vision or I didn't see anything, but I knew he was with me.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he allowed me to understand for the first time or comprehend was that through all the stuff that I had been, even when, I was very anti-Christ when I was in my days,
Right.
Specifically like making.
Your parents were pretty religious, let's be honest, right?
They were Christians, yeah. They love the Lord, and
absolutely. But you were kind of like
I was against anything that had to do
rebelling age for sure.
And it was actually specifically Jesus. Anything that had to do with Jesus, I was against. And so, what he showed me in that moment was that he was with me, even in those moments where I was against him. He still loved me. His love for me never changed. And he was like, he was just waiting for me, and we know God works in mysterious ways and he leads us and he allows us to experience hard things.
So you appreciate it later.
And for me, it was, he allowed me to make the choices I did so that I would experience what it was like to live without him. And then when I finally surrendered and asked him, he allowed me to experience what it was like to be with him. And to know that he loved me. It wasn't like he loved me, started loving me more because I turned to him. No, he loved me.
He was there the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
So out of that, when I had, after that experience, I knew my whole life was changed. And I knew that this is it. And part of that was the revelation of eternity, the revelation in that moment that, wait a minute, Jesus, this isn't just something my parents believe. This isn't just a religion. Like, Jesus Christ really is the way, the truth, and the life. And so, and it wasn't just this, it wasn't anything about what I had learned or what I had been taught. This was, I experienced this for the first time. So I was all in. It was like, Lord, this is the most important. I want to give my life to you. I want to live my life, the rest of my life, for you, and help other people come to know you, come to know what I've just experienced.
But also by using kind of the talents you have.
Yeah.
Because you have gifts. I mean, you can build stuff.
I like building
really
things.
well. And you always have. Like, you've got that. Your dad had that. There's a gene there, right? In the ability of for you to, and I mean, that's kind of what you took with you.
It's been helpful, I will say, living in the middle of nowhere in Tanzania. So anyways, that to your question, why did we go to Tanzania?
What was the like? We're going to Tanzania.
It was, fast forward a little bit, God puts my wife Janelle and I together. We know
you guys are great.
Before we got married,
no, really.
Before we got married, though, we knew at that point we were headed somewhere overseas to serve God. We didn't know where, we didn't know what that looked like. She actually knew since she was 11 from a summer camp she went to, and where God really got a hold of her heart and specifically put the call to Africa somewhere.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So she'd had that.
She had that for most of her life. So when we got married, we knew we were headed somewhere. We didn't know where, and somewhere in Africa at that point. And then, to sum up in short, a lot of prayer, a lot of researching organizations, and we knew we wanted to go somewhere. It wasn't really we wanted to. We knew God was leading us to somewhere remote, somewhere rural, and unreached. So, the idea of an unreached people group, not just going somewhere where, where there's a lot of churches already and there's a lot of Christians already. It's going somewhere where, 99 or more % of the people have never heard about Jesus. And so one thing led to another, and we can look back, and God led us every step of the way to an organization that was focused in Africa, and then in unreached people groups. And then they were putting a team together to engage this unreached people group in Tanzania. And that's where we ended up. So
the name of the village is?
The name of the village, I probably shouldn't say on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that?
They're an Islamic people group.
Okay.
And also kind of just to protect our identity there, our work there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Be better not to say on the.
Okay. Wow. So how big a village?
Yeah, our village.
How many people
is roughly? Well, if you go, if you go there, you would think there's maybe a couple hundred people with kids, but technically, it's our village is like a hub village, and there's 5 other villages in the area and a school, and so if you count up everybody, it's a couple thousand people actually, but it doesn't feel like that. It's very small. Yeah.
So you've come back here a few times. You grew up here, went to Shadle, right?
Yep. Yep.
One of my earliest memories of you, I mean, you're my nephew, so I remember when you were born, actually. But I remember you were like 10 or something, and we get this call, and I think it was my mom or dad or somebody. It's like, Jeremy's on the news. I go, what? Jeremy's on the news. I turned on the TV, and you almost died in 9 Mile?
Yeah.
Because you were bit by a rattlesnake.
Right. Yeah.
What age was this? Do you remember it?
I was 12, I think. Pretty sure I was 11 or 12. Yeah.
But how you handled it then says a lot about how you handle everything that you're in. You're a pretty calm dude.
Well, I'm thankful to have a friend actually who was with me.
So what happened?
Here's the real story. I did not handle it well.
Who knows? Okay.
True confessions. We're okay. 3 buddies of mine and I are going out into the woods.
9 Mile by the river.
This is Suncrest. So,
Suncrest.
Yep.
Okay, that's right.
Yep.
No, that's right.
Same
Suncrest.
thing.
Yeah.
And we're actually looking for snakes, believe it or not. snakes and lizards.
You accomplished your goal.
Every 10, 11, 12-year-old boy is
looking for snakes.
Interested in snakes.
Right,
So
it's true.
So we actually were on a snake hunt. I mean, that was our objective.
Your brother Kenny has snakes. Does he not?
He did, yeah.
Yes, he had a lot of snakes.
Right.
So, his house. So
we're walking up in the woods, and we're walking up this hill, and all of a sudden I see something kind of slither right between my legs. And it's, there's some tall, dry grass and stuff. I didn't get a chance to see it clearly, but it was colorful and it was small. And I knew it was a snake, and it was like a snake I'd never seen before.
And you're snake hunting.
Yeah. And so what I do immediately is I bend down and I pick it up. Now this turns out it was a baby rattlesnake, so it didn't even have a rattle yet. And
so you couldn't hear the
right, super colorful, probably one of the most prettiest snakes colorful snakes I've seen.
Wow.
And so I picked that thing up, and the next thing I know, it turns around and it latches on my finger.
Oh man.
And a friend of mine who knew we called him like the snake guy or whatever.
His nickname was probably Snake.
Boy Snouts. Yeah, right.
Hey, Snake.
He looks at it and he's like, he knew what it was.
He knew what it was.
Yeah, it's like, that's a rattlesnake.
And he's 12?
Yeah.
Lucky. You're lucky.
So and this is all happening like,
fast.
Yeah. Seconds. And after it bites me, I pull that thing off, I throw it down. And my friend Matt at the time, first thing he did was like Boy Scouts 101 or something. He's like, we got to suck it out.
Exactly.
So he takes my finger and he bites it where the snake bit me, and he starts sucking on my finger. And then my other two friends are trying to kill the snake with a rock, and it ended up getting away. But we were pretty good ways from the school, and it was like 4:30, roughly around there. It was after school. So we knew we needed to get the closest place with a phone was the school.
Yeah. This is before cell phones.
Before cell phone. Oh yeah. And so we all start running. And this is where same Fred was like, you shouldn't run. Actually, you stay back and walk with another friend.
Go slow.
And the two of them took off running ahead and ran ahead of us to the school. And sure enough, the janitor was still there.
Boy Scouts, man.
They, so by the time I got to the school, the paramedics were already there. And
how close was it to you being really? Did you feel sick at all?
That was interesting. I never felt, and maybe it was because he got some of the poison out. I don't know, but I never felt. I never passed out. I never felt poison.
But it's a deadly thing.
Oh yeah, and I felt the main thing is it hurt so bad, like like
you're gonna lose your finger.
20 bee stings, all in one spot, and
whoa,
I watched. It was like if you ever blown up one of those latex gloves, you could literally watch my hand
just get
inflate.
Crazy big. Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was in the hospital for a few days and on the news, like you said, and they gave me
Suncrest boy.
I remember it was like
by rattlesnake.
Like when I went back to school, it was like, everybody wanted to hear the story.
You were a rock star.
It was kind of cool.
So now you live in a place where there's probably all kinds of wildlife.
Oh man,
exotic stuff. I know there's monkeys for sure.
Oh yeah.
What's that like? And what's the? Have you come into any brushes again?
Yeah. So we've got puff adder vipers and green mambas and cobras and
snakes continue to be a theme in your life.
Yeah, but we don't actually see snakes that often. A few times a year, so more often than maybe most people here,
right,
in the States. But you don't see them every day. You do see monkeys every day, but and those are fun. It can be fun. They're also
annoying.
One of the biggest pests for people's crops. So they're like the bad guys,
Mm-hmm.
But as far as snakes, our closest call really was we had this. It was a date palm, not a date palm. What do you call it? some kind of it was what they make palm oil out of, and a tree, so palm tree right in front of our house, and the kids loved climbing it because it had, just super easy to climb, and it wasn't very tall, and so the kids used to climb in this thing. And this one morning, our neighbor boy is over, and he says snake, and I go out there, and the kids had just been climbing this tree that the day before.
Wow.
Anyway, so we go out there, and this is 6.5 foot green mamba just coiled up right where they were.
Holy cow.
And so we get sticks, and we get this thing down, and kill it. Any snake you see there, you got to just assume it's poisonous, and kill it if you can.
It's a predator, yeah.
Before it bites someone. So that's what we did, and got this thing, and after we killed it, we held it up, and it was taller than me.
Wow.
And so that's been
you don't see that in Suncrest.
No. And you get bit by one of those. I mean, yeah, rattlesnakes
probably nothing
are
you can
dangerous, but not as dangerous as a green mamba. Yeah. We actually
I wouldn't believe that.
Right. And we started carrying we've got a emergency snake venom kit, anti-venom kit there.
No kidding.
We always pray we don't have to use it, but so far we haven't had to use it.
Good.
Yeah, and I think as the kids have just part of looking back and reflecting on our time there, our kids are older now. So our oldest Paul is 13, Wesley is 11, and Ellie is 8, and so
that's their home.
That is home. And you ask them where's home, and they say our village in Tanzania. And so we built, after our first term there was about 3 years. We came back knowing we're going to be there long term, and I built a house there, and that's where I've had the chance to use those building construction skills.
Yeah.
And anyways, so that's home, and having the kids older now, it's just a whole different. We do life together, and they're helping in. They're just a part of it now, a part of the ministry now more than ever, and so that's been fun to see them more involved in what we're doing, and even just with me, and even some of the building things. And we had our most recent project is a training center, and doing some sustainability projects as well. We started a goat project. And trying to build some sustainability into the ministry, and then also provide practical training for local people, and also some biblical training for the new believers that we're working with there now. Anyway, so when we're building the physical structures, even the goat barns, we had the kids up there, and they were hammering nails and working right there, tying rebar, and we were pouring concrete. And so, yeah. And in this time back,
you've come back how many times? And when you come back, you stay a few months anyway, right?
It's always been more than, like this time will be close to 8 months. So 4 or 5 times, I can't remember off the top of my head.
And
how
why
many
come
times
back?
we get back. Well, just to reconnect with people.
You miss it a little bit. Yeah, you still got family here. I mean, this is
family, friends, supporters. We live off of support from people, from donations. So to reconnect with the people that support us, a few churches here, and opportunities really to just be in person with people to share the stories and what God has done. And
well, what I think, so what fascinates me the most about it, and what we talked about at breakfast, was the shock of coming back.
Oh, sure.
And there's the shock of going back. So what do you most notice when you get back here? Because you
like reverse culture shock.
Yeah. What happens?
Yeah.
Like what hits you?
So one of the distinct memories I have when we first came back. So we had been over there almost 3 years, and came back and we were living with my parents.
Yeah, I remember when you came back.
Here in Spokane, and
that was a big event. Jeremy Taylor coming home.
Yeah, things that I never saw because we grew up here, right?
Right.
And it's actually something interesting with when we look at our kids and their childhood, what their worldview is. It's so different than what my wife and I had when we were kids.
Because they're fluent, I'm imagine.
In the language. They're getting there. They're not quite yet, but
mostly no English.
But this is off top of the rabbit trail here, but I do want to mention this, that one thing that's neat that they have is that they're colorblind when it comes to skin color. They grew up, their friends are African.
Absolutely.
Darker skin.
They are the only ones who aren't.
It was so interesting and really cool. One day, they've got friends in the village and they play soccer with and other games with, and they have nicknames for all their friends, and the friends have nicknames for them, right? Well, one of their friends, they were saying, he looks like our cousin who's here in the States, who's American. And my wife and I are like, how do you guys see that? But they don't, skin color it's not anything.
Right.
Like how we talk about white, black, all the things.
Oh, for sure.
And of course, more recently, there's been a lot of issues with racism and all that here.
Absolutely.
But for them, they are colorblind, and so they're
not actually colorblind.
They're not colorblind. Sorry, but
they don't see the distinction.
They don't see any difference between. Skin color doesn't matter. That's right. That's the point.
Right.
And so
which makes you aware of how much it does matter to us, or we're aware of it.
Right. But it shouldn't.
It should not.
It's just, just like a black dog and a white, there's no,
what's the difference?
They're both dogs, we're all the same people. Right. So, anyways, it's just something that we've learned through the lens of our kids that we've really realized, like, oh wow, like we grew up with a totally different worldview. So back to what you were saying, what we experience when we come back here.
Yeah.
When we first came back, so parents, grew up in suburbia, right?
Big time.
Suburbs. And it was the strangest thing for me. My parents, as you know, are outgoing, and they loved to get to know their neighbors.
They're not shy people.
And I really respect them, for being really intentional to
make friends
and get to know their neighbors
and try to have a community.
Right.
Yeah.
And they do. But one thing that struck me, and this is nothing about my parents at all, but in general, realizing that there's people just a few houses down that we've never even known their names.
Never met them.
On this block or that block,
That's right.
And maybe this is, in some small towns you wouldn't have this as much, right? Mm-hmm. So that's part of it. It's not necessarily a US thing.
But you might.
But I noticed it for the first time, like that was weird. Because before that was just normal.
Right.
Like,
you don't know
we
everybody.
just don't know our neighbors. We don't interact with our neighbors.
Right.
That much.
Yeah. No, you come home, you close the garage door, you go in.
Right.
And you come back out.
And again, we're just talking about.
You're just noticing
noticing what's so different.
Yeah.
For the first time, and because in the village, it's always about visiting people, and being a community and living. You're always partly because you depend on each other. You really need each other. It is more survival, and so if I don't go out and visit people. People will start coming to our house because they think I'm sick.
Well,
like we haven't seen you in a few days. So,
and you're not talking about a month,
right? This is less than a week, because it's just the way of life there, right?
Right.
You're always visiting people. You're always
where are they? What's going on?
You're doing life together, and so that was one thing that just really stood out, is like the way a lot of us, and again, we're limited, right? We're people. We're limited by, we can only have so many relationships, right? We only have so much time.
Right.
So,
but the community there is stronger
in some ways. Yeah. Like, everybody in the community, in the village, not just the next door and across the street. Yeah. Like here, it would be similar to, everybody on the street past you,
everybody in Suncrest
within a
or whatever
mile radius, or
right?
something,
It would be like, everybody in Ottapon,
and you're always
right.
You're always actually going to everybody's house,
and you're not only know them, but you're seeing them every day.
You're seeing them most of the time. Yeah. Wow.
Is there like a place where they gather, a market, or is it just?
Yep. So they have there's a local, a few shops and place where people, there are things you can buy, like local rice and
just not diapers.
Basic things. Right. Anyway, so the diaper thing, what we ended up doing was, in the city we can buy, so city, we're like 8 hours depending on the time of year. Rainy season can make that a lot longer, but we're within a day's drive to the city, and we can buy diapers there, disposable. So
wow.
The diaper crisis, going back to that, we ended up, several months into it, realizing it was actually learning from another missionary friend of ours who was in a different place. We're like, what do you guys do for diapers? And like, oh, we just buy disposable. And, really? How do you dispose of them?
Right.
Well, you just pour kerosene on it and you burn them. So we're like, well, if that's going to, like,
options?
What else do we have? Or we can bag them and,
And that's kind of the reality of just the world you're in.
Yeah. So there's no
great solution.
There's no garbage service. Right. There's no things that
you just take for granted.
Another thing when we come back is, it still hits me, is going into a grocery store, going into a place like Home Depot, even though I'm like so excited, Home Depot's like,
that's your candy store.
But it's becoming less and less. Like, it's like, man, this is
too much.
It's just overwhelming with all the stuff that we have available. And another thing was just that what we have access to, like clean water, we water our lawns and we flush our toilets with cleaner water than the people in our village have access to most time.
Wow.
And so we are blessed, and we here, that's a good thing. We need to be thankful for those things. And I think I took a lot of that for granted because I grew up with it.
Doesn't everybody in the world have this?
It's just normal.
Right.
And when you live in a place where that's not normal for an extended time, especially, it really helps us realize, help me realize how much we really have here.
Yeah.
What we have to be thankful for.
And also how too much there is.
Yeah.
So I'm a part of a group CEO group that meets every month, and we kind of talk about a lot of different things. And one of the things is we're covering some books that we're kind of working together.
Oh, neat.
On.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one is called, which I think you really would appreciate, it's called Subtract.
Oh yeah. Sure.
And it's about how much we really as a species are designed to add stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're hunter-gatherers, and you guys are living in a place where that is still the survival of what you do is still first and foremost job one, right?
Sure.
But sometimes the best solution for things is to take it away and to have less and to be more efficient and to not have as many things as you need and frees you up and maybe, get you closer to being happy and healthy, and that must be the case when you show back up here and you're just like, how much stuff there is. How much more do we have than we need, do you think?
How much more do we have than we need?
Here.
Oh, way more. Way more.
Exponential.
I mean, when you compare with our friends in the village, they can, as far as physical, material possessions, they can fit most of what they have, or if not all that they have, in a 5-gallon bucket. 1 5-gallon bucket. So if you have more than 2 pairs of clothes, you're considered wealthy. And so most people will have 1 pair of clothes that they wear when they're not out in the farm working.
Wow.
And then they'll have their rags, really. It's like, a lot of the guys that we work with, half of the shirt's ripped up, and they'll wear it as long as it is somewhat resembling of a shirt, because everything
is valuable.
Just don't have. They don't
Everything's
have,
valuable.
Everything's valuable. They don't have a lot, so they appreciate what they do have. And another thing is, we've been learning too is, what is it that really makes us happy? It's not stuff. And even for the people that we're with, one could say, well, because they don't have as much, maybe they're happier. And that's not true either, And so for us, we know where true happiness, where true joy comes from, and that's from knowing the Lord. And it's Him living, like Jesus said, He's the way, the truth, and the life, right? So His life, He is life itself, the source of life. And so when we have Him living in us, that's where we have unlimited access to joy that never ends. It's not based on anything that's physical, that's circumstantial, that's, when we have Him in us,
that's when
I have Him in me, when He, that was the revelation for me back when I first met Him, was He really is my life, and the source of my life. And so, and that's so freeing to know that's not ever going to be taken. That can never be taken away from me.
You can always tap into it. It's always there.
Always tap into it. And it's not based on what I do for a living. It's not based on what I have in my house or whether I have a house. It's now He gives us good things to enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with having things. But here's a lesson for us that we really learned from the people that we're living with in Tanzania. They are generous. They get hospitality. Now, part of that is legalistic, right? Like, because of their religion, like they're taught that that's one of the ways you can earn points, to get to heaven.
That's how they get to heaven, yeah.
So, but in general, they're very hospitable, to the point where we went over to visit our neighbor's house, and to visit our neighbors at their house. And again, these people, dirt floor, dirt walls, they have a bed that's made out of rope, not even a mattress. They just put a kind of a sheet down on top of rope. That's their bed. I mean, just, very basic. And we go over there, and there's no there's no such thing as calling ahead or saying, hey, can we come over?
Right.
That's foreign. And
right.
You just go visit. And so people come.
It's like when we grew up.
Yeah.
Here.
People come over unannounced.
There's no texting.
Yeah. And we had to get used to that.
In.
That can get really tiring too.
Yeah.
But we went over there, and it was, they greeted us and immediately started cooking for us, and cooked for us what they were going to make for their dinner. They didn't have anything else. And it was just a very simple dinner.
You took their dinner.
And they gave it to us. They shared what little they had with us. Immediately. It was just, that's
it wasn't even a thought.
Yeah. It wasn't even a thought. It wasn't even like, it was no question. This is what we should do.
Right.
And so there's parts of that in things like that in their culture and
and their religion, honestly,
that we can learn from,
for sure.
And that's a good, that's a good thing. If done not from a legalistic heart.
If done from really genuinely,
if it's done because we really love and care for this person,
sure.
Right.
Well, that's just like here. I mean, it's nowhere. That's any culture, really.
Yeah.
If you really can tell if somebody's being genuine or not.
Yeah.
So, how long did it take before they started to accept you in? Was that immediately, or was it, what are these white dudes doing, popping in our village? I mean, when did the curiosity turn to, you're their brother now?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
And that wasn't the case. It couldn't have been right away.
Right.
Was there an event or a moment where you're like, I think we just got asked, like, we're part of the crew here now, or was it always that way?
I think it was gradual. It was definitely gradual, and it was through living life there. And then when we started to do some service projects, so one of the main things we did, one of the first things we did was volunteered at the local school, which again, like I said, the education there is really, really poor, unfortunately. And so they have what would be equivalent to a high school here, and they've never had a math teacher, never had a science teacher. They're supposed to be taught English because Tanzania is Swahili and English as far as the Swahili languages. Is official, but they really are trying to also embrace English, and unfortunately they haven't been able to do it very well. And so in the schools, the kids are supposed to know English and be taught in English even in high school, but especially the rural communities, they don't do that. They gravitate towards Swahili, which is the national language. Anyway, so the school that we in our village never had a math teacher, never had several of these other teachers for these subjects, and so we realized, hey, this is one practical way we can help out. Temporarily, we're not the solution. It's better if we don't want to ever take the place of a Tanzanian, who, and
you're always conscious of that,
right? So we did.
You're just out to help.
We just committed for 1 year, and I was a math teacher, and it was very interesting. I've never.
And you don't speak the language.
And this was earlier on. So this was our second year there. Yeah, second year there. So I didn't really know the language. I was definitely not fluent yet.
And this is a language that really doesn't exist outside of that village, basically, or
Swahili. In Tanzania, Swahili is spoken just about everywhere. Okay, that's like the national trade language, right? So, but then every people group or tribe has their distinct, we say heart language that they speak as well.
So this is a country made up of tribes,
right? Yep, and they say that's how.
Not any different than the Confederate tribes here in the United States, really, in terms of the Colvilles or the Kalispels,
First Nation,
First Nation,
yep,
yeah.
So, right, exactly. That's how it is, and similar. And they describe themselves that way. So, and proud of it, really, in some ways. And so we focused on learning their heart language before Swahili, and so, which their heart language wasn't written yet. It's still in the process of being written. So, anyway, so we helped out with the school that 1 year, and then just living there. So many people not leaving, and just helping in small ways. We had to be really careful. Because you can help to the point where it actually hurts. And
what do you mean? Give me an example.
Well, for example, if people can become dependent on you for things, and then if you leave, well, now what do?
Yeah.
So it's the basic principle of if we teach somebody how to fish.
Somebody how to fish,
they're going to fish for the rest of their lives. So one of the things that we're doing, this is kind of a jumble of thoughts here, but one of the things that we're doing whenever we do a project, or like we did some wells, we always want participation. We want local buy-in, so to speak, and
help
and ownership and help. So if they can just bring sand and rocks to make concrete with, and we provide the cement, there's got to be something that's where
contributed to.
Everybody's helping with something that they can. And then that way, whatever it is, whether it's a well or a birthing center that we helped build, the community doesn't say, oh, well, those guys just gave that to us. Those guys did it for us. No, it was, we worked together, and, it's ours.
They're part of
it's
us.
Theirs.
Yeah.
They have that, they take ownership with it. And so, and that kind of moves into with the whole I'd say our whole main ministry there now, besides just, again, living day to day and being part of the community and just living life there, our main role right now is training. And so training and equipping, and that covers a wide spectrum of things. But on the basic needs side of things, instead of raising a bunch of money and to dig some wells, hey, let's train people, our local friends, how to dig wells themselves and not need all this heavy equipment and expensive machinery to do it.
Right.
Because the water table there is fairly close. They don't have to dig very far. And so there's a very inexpensive and easy way to dig good wells, borehole wells, by hand. And we have the tools and the know-how to do that. So we're, to start and to help somebody local start their own business doing that. So it's empowering the local community, but also through them meeting a need. So,
right.
And so then when we're not there anymore,
they're continuing.
That continues.
So you've done that with wells. You've done that with goats. What's the goat project?
We're doing that with goats.
What are you doing?
We're trying something with goats. It's been quite a challenging
I'm
thing.
sure some stuff hasn't worked.
Yeah. I would say the goats.
What hasn't worked?
What hasn't worked? Oh, man. Well, it's a good question.
Or has everything kind of helped?
I mean, everything's helped in some ways, I would say. Like the goats, we just started that last year.
So what's the deal?
So we're in the beginning stages of that, and the goal for that is that it's an income generating project.
So you're raising goats?
Raising goats,
okay,
and breeding goats, and
it's milk.
We're trying to get into some better
cheese
milk goats. That's the thing about Tanzania. We discovered, again, this has been a learning experience, but as far as goats, they've got millions of goats, but none of them are milk goats. Oh. They're all smaller, bred for meat.
Oh,
for butchering. And so one of the ideas is that we can get some good quality milk goats and start breeding them, and then help introduce those to the
a sustainable food source.
Yeah, and teach people about milk goats, and and then provide another aspect of the training center it's all about training Tanzanians. So, and as much as we can, inviting and having Tanzanians do the actual trainings. So that's where, again, trying to be intentional with everything we do, that it's sustainable and it's not depending on,
and that it's honoring their culture.
Western, yeah. I think so. I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so. So with the goat project, if there's, we know there's in different places of the country, there's vet schools, Tanzanians who want to be vets, and so they could come and intern at the center and on the goat project. And
what a help that would be.
Learn from our guys there and just be trained and have a practical, part of their training, and then the center can generate some income through that. There's organizations that sponsor those kinds of internships.
Oh, cool.
So, and that where the money that's generated, the whole idea is this is not a for-profit business at all for us. This is all for the local people, and so
to have their own business and have a sustainable wage,
and to sustain the center too. So,
so the center was built by you.
Well, it's in process. It's being built.
Okay, and it's being built by your neighbors.
Yeah, we've got
a team of people.
Right, we've got 20 to 30 guys on any given day when we're there working. It's providing temporary work, at least. That's the other thing is people there. It's really hard to find paid work because nobody has money.
Right.
So that's another where regardless of, well, there's a lot of neat stories that have come out of just the process of developing this training center that I could share about. We could talk for hours, but part of that is providing, again, temporary work, and they know it's temporary, but it's paid work, and so they're happy to have it. And we've got one guy who walks 3 hours one way just to work.
Wow.
And because he can't
every day, 5 days a week,
every day, 6 days a week,
6 days a week.
Yeah, because he can't get work anywhere else.
Now, one of the stories you told me was one of these guys is going there to learn this, and to work, but that means you have to leave your crop.
Oh, sure, yeah,
right,
yeah,
because everybody has a crop. Because if you don't grow it, you don't eat it, and you don't make it.
Yeah.
So he's double dipping. He's trying to make a better use of his life, walking 3 miles, getting paid to help build this training center, getting back and making sure his crops are okay.
Right.
That's a trick.
Should I tell that story?
You should. I probably can't mention the name, but there's
we'll call him Maki.
Okay,
Maki.
All right.
That's
yeah. You told me his name. I wrote it down. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't say it.
It's such a cool story, and this is really a testimony of what God is doing there,
and also the sort of tenacity of these people, or I don't know is that the right word?
Yeah.
Just they're trying.
They're trying. Oh, they're trying as hard as they can. In a lot of ways.
This is not a group of lazy individuals. Let's put it that way. I've heard that described before, where some people will go to a community. We're going to go save the day and be the smart Americans, and they show up, and whether you're a missionary, if it's a medical missionary or Christian missionary, whatever it is, we're going to go save the day, and then one of two things happens. They either go there and they did all the work and nothing got really sustained.
Right.
Or they get there and they're with all this great knowledge to teach, and the people there are like, I don't really want that.
We don't want it. Exactly.
You guys just do it. We don't really care.
Right.
I have some friends who went to Rwanda, and it's like, we did not expect that.
Right.
We thought they're going to love. So excited.
Right.
Have you experienced both of those things, or is it for the most part?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And that's maybe where some things haven't really worked, that you're talking about.
It reminds American white guy knows it all, and then runs into this like, we didn't ask you to come here.
Yeah. So that we've tried some things on this kind of on the side as far as introducing some different vegetables.
And by the way, those people were not Christian missionaries; they were medical missionaries.
Sure,
thinking, right?
Anyway, so we
have a solution. You guys, come on, we can save this problem.
It's really hard. What we've learned is it's really hard to introduce anything new. From if it's viewed from that this is foreign, so
if this came from you.
Which here's an interesting thing: corn we know is not native to Tanzania, and yet today. That's one of their main diets. One of the main things people grow in our village is corn.
Wow.
It's a maize. It's not a sweet corn.
Sure.
And rice. And coconuts are not native either.
So those were brought in somewhere.
Those were brought in. Now, generations ago to where now that's for them.
A staple.
That's like, this is who we are. This is not just our diet. This is not what's available, but
it's not organic to
this is who we are. Right?
Yeah.
When they don't even realize that, generations ago, this wasn't actually
Grown
who
here.
you were.
Yeah.
This wasn't actually what you ate.
Right.
You know? So, but all that to say, there's a few things that we've tried to teach people, just on a lower scale, different vegetables and crops and stuff that you could do in different ways. And most of that so far hasn't really taken off because it's foreign.
Right.
And, and so, and that that's okay. However, it's really exciting when somebody, even just a friend of ours, starts realizing, hey, this plant, we have this one plant that we're trying to introduce, and we've been trying for years and we actually got it from a different place in Tanzania. It's like not even Tanzania. It's like not even
brought in overseas. Foreign,
you know.
What is it?
It's in English. It's called a Mexican spinach plant, and it's super high in iron and protein, and anyways, a lot of good stuff in there. And one of the main problems with women in childbirth is they're anemic.
Yeah,
they don't get enough meat.
Right.
That's another protein.
Protein. Yeah, Johanna's a birth instructor. She's always
and iron.
Protein and iron. Yeah,
low iron. So that's where this Mexican spinach plant, it's called chaya. There, we've got it planted, and you can plant it as a living hedge, living fence, and it just takes off. You don't have to water it. It just grows in any environment.
And it's food. You can,
So it's the leaves. You just, cook the leaves, and you've got
not unlike a spinach or something.
Yeah. So anyways, that was back to that, where we've tried to introduce stuff, but it's exciting when a few of these guys who've been working on the center, which is right behind where we live, have started taking cuttings of this chaya plant, and they've planted it now at their houses.
Oh,
and their wives are starting to cook it, So,
oh man.
So it's like, oh, okay,
literally the seeds you've planted.
We may not, and it's okay. Like, we're not there to force anything on, we're not there to force anything on them, anything, we're there primarily
that probably was the biggest thing that they that they're trying to figure out. What is in it for them?
What is in it for us? And and when we tell people it just takes time in a relationship, right? To really get to know someone.
Yeah.
But when we tell them, like, we're here to learn from you guys, and we're also here to tell you about Jesus. That's the reason why we're here, to help you know ultimately who Jesus is, what he's done for you. And so that leads into...
So no requirement. It's not like you hire these guys to work in this training center and you made them pray with you.
No.
So, but you offered something, or they started to, though.
Well, so the training center, what we do, we incorporate a Bible study, basic, simple, kind of intentional Bible study in the mornings before we start.
Who's this Jesus guy?
Before we start. And we're just simply learning from God's word, from the Bible, who did Jesus say he was? So this is not Jeremy, preaching or saying who, anything. It's, hey guys, let's just take a look at God's word, and you decide for yourselves, is this true?
What do you guys think?
Yeah. What do you guys think? And
that must be very interesting to see their answers.
It's been so cool.
And probably better for your faith or your understanding of how, Jesus is read in the Bible.
Yeah, sure.
I would, because this is a completely foreign, literally never heard of this dude.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so what they've heard of him is so different and really not true of who he really is. And
what did they hear? What did they think before they started kind of reading for themselves?
Well, in Islam, they're taught, Jesus is not the Son of God. Jesus is just a prophet.
Yep.
So Jesus is there in their...
He's part of their Islamic culture, yeah.
Sure.
He did exist, and he was a real person.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, not to get into that too much.
Yeah. But, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. But
anyways, so when they're reading from the scriptures, from the Bible, who Jesus said he was and is, it's been amazing what's happened. And that leads into this story with Maki. So one of the guys, like you were saying, one of the guys, younger guy, comes from over the hill from us, over the mountain, every day to work, and he's got a farm just like everybody else. And he's been studying with us in the Bible studies for a while now, and at this point, and he comes to me with a couple of his relatives, cousin and his brother, one day, and he says, and at this point we had been doing Bible studies 6 days a week, 2 hours a day.
Wow.
And these guys come to me and they say, this has been the most amazing thing, but it's not enough. Is there a time outside of our work day?
So you're basically, I'm starting my work day at 8.
We start at 7.
Start at 7.
And it's a Bible study.
And how long is Bible study before you start?
And they're paid. They're paid to be, it's part of the workday, right? So
how long do you do the Bible study before you start working? Hour?
2 hours.
2 hours, and then you work.
And then we work.
So that was you're paying. So it's like, hey.
So from 7 to 9, it turned into this. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It started like 20 minutes, half hour.
I've got a rule here. Yeah.
But it's not. It's not a 2 hour.
You were just like doing a little bit, and then start working.
Right. Just start. Let's start our day.
But they kept talking.
Well, and so it's gotten to the point where they're so into it and they can't get enough. And these guys are saying, hey, can we come? Is there another time where we can come and study the Bible with you and not
part of work.
Working?
Yeah, because I wondered if it's like, well, sure, I'll sit around and talk all day about Jesus if I don't have to build something.
Right.
There's that line.
And we've gotten to here's the other thing. We've been there long enough to know when somebody's serious or when somebody's just telling us what we want to hear.
These guys weren't doing that.
Oh, and so genuine. Anyway, so I'm
the
like,
cynical guy would say, "Oh, they're just getting paid to chat."
So I tell these guys, I'm like, well, I'm up at 5. You guys can come at 5, in the morning and study and pray with me, and so they did. And at around the same time, this guy Maki, we'll call him, or Mackie, we can say Mackie. He's got a farm, and God is really working in his life. I mean, he's starting to really believe he's starting to really believe, but he's got questions, because it's different than what he's been taught from when he was a kid.
Right. That's not what I heard.
This isn't what I've been taught, but something's happening whenever they told me this, whenever we read the Bible in the morning, we feel something happening like deep within us. We don't know what this is.
There's an energy or something.
Like it's true. Like we know this is true. We know this is true. This is what they kept saying. But is Jesus really God? Like, is he really the Son of God? Like that's really hard for them to wrap their head around.
It's hard for anybody to.
It is. So what I simply do is, guys, I just tell them my story. I said, I just asked, if you genuinely want to know if Jesus really is who he says he was.
Because that's exactly the same question you were asking.
Yeah.
You asked at 20.
Just ask him. And if you, and I 100% believe this, that if anybody asks with all their heart, sincerely, they mean it, God's going to show them. And this is how he started to show himself to Mackie. Mackie gets home one day from work, right? From the training center.
3 hours walking back.
And for him, it's like half hour.
Okay.
Different guy. Yeah.
Different guy. Okay.
And his wife comes to him. It's right before harvest. So every year, harvest time, the monkeys and the pigs come in.
What month?
Around June.
Okay.
Yeah. May, June. Harvest is usually July, end of June, July, August. So the biggest pests are monkeys and wild boars. They're not like the pigs we have here. They're, tusks and
they're pretty big.
Yeah. Gray bodies, so
Timon and Pumbaa.
Right. So they'll come in and they'll just wreak havoc on a crop and
eat it all.
And these people, they're farming with hand tools. They do not have machines. They're on hillsides. It's wherever they can,
plant anything.
And so they're limited.
It's corn.
It's corn and rice usually, and a few other things, but corn and rice are the main things. So they're limited on the size. They've got, maybe an acre or two of land that they've planted. And every year they've got to guard their crops right before harvest because of the pigs and monkeys. Well,
guarding means like stay up all night?
Guarding is staying there all night and during the day, and they've got different things to like make sounds.
There's no fences.
They build these platforms right in the middle of the farm, and they sleep out there and stay out there. Well,
like a hunting, almost like a hunting stand.
Like a blind or whatever.
Right.
So Mackie is he goes home one day and his wife says the pigs started coming in to the farm. Oof. You know,
and he's working all day with you.
He's working all day, and so he's not able to guard his farm, and they didn't have at that time anyone else to do it. So he's coming. This is him telling me the story, right? So I'm just telling you what he told me.
Okay.
He says, so on my way home the next day, on my way back to work the next day, I prayed and I said, Jesus, if you are real, please keep the pigs out of my farm. And then
that's a big ask.
He goes back to his wife and she says, after working, and goes back home, and she says, you got to come see this. So they go out to the farm, and you and I wouldn't know where one farm ends and another farm begins.
There's no fences.
There's no fences. There's no any physical barrier or markings even. But
they know.
They know, right? And so they went out to their farm and they saw the pig tracks come right up to the edge of their farm, stopped, didn't go in, and the pigs walked around their entire farm, right on the edge of, and this is not like a perfect square, right? This is like from here to that mango tree, and then from that mango tree to, another tree, and then, it's all random. It's not a square or anything. The pigs followed their border of their farm, all the way around, and never went in. And that happened 3 days in a row. So he's coming and he's telling me,
that's remarkable.
He's like so excited. He's like, I know Jesus heard my prayer.
Yeah, we'd call that a miracle.
Yeah, with pigs. I mean, it's like
Mackie and the pigs.
And here's the cool thing about it. Like, it's just one of many stories that we've seen. Because most of the time, honestly, Frank, we live down metaphorically, in reality, we live in a valley. Okay. We're surrounded by mountains, low mountains, hills, but spiritually or whatever, it feels like we live most of the time in the valleys where we don't see what's happening. And a lot of times it feels like, is anything happening?
Why are we here?
Why are we here? God, are you doing anything here?
You have to, there's got to be a constant conversation. It has to be.
And he gives us glimpses.
For 11 years.
Right. And this is one of them where it's like we get a little bit of a vantage point of like, okay,
what we're doing is mattering in some way.
And more than that, God is doing something.
Yeah. Through you.
And we get to be part of it.
Yeah.
And so Mackie's like, that for him, that spoke in a way that so unique, so specific to what he needed to hear, to where it convinced him, it showed him like, okay, this is real. This is not just.
And how many guys come to this thing or working on this?
Well, about 20 to 30.
So they're all hearing this.
Yeah. So they're hearing the story.
There's more powerful coming from Mackie than you.
So many stories.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and so that must keep you, because one of the questions I have for you is why do you stay?
Yeah. Well,
you come back for 8 months. There's a lot of stuff here. Family.
Yeah. In short,
you guys miss it?
We know God wants us to be there still.
Yeah.
It's also, so we've said over the years, it's been the hardest thing we've ever done. And it's also been the best thing we've ever done, because the best thing we've ever done for our souls, because
Well, you're living your faith.
we get to, and we have this amazing opportunity that in reality, all of us actually have been given time here on earth.
How are you going to use it?
How are we going to use it? And we have this opportunity to live our lives for the Lord. And this is not just when I say we, I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about anybody. And participate with realizing that God is the one who is at work everywhere in people's lives. And he loves everyone way more than I do, way more than you do.
Yeah.
He loves me more than I realize. He loves you more than you realize.
Yeah.
I could never love these people more than him.
Right.
But I have a unique privilege. We've been given a unique opportunity to, through our weaknesses, through our just
Screw ups.
yeah, like our blumbering with language and all the ways we mess up, we get to be there and participate with Jesus, with God, in what he's doing. And in that process, we get to experience him in amazing ways.
How do they see you now? Are you respected members of this? Are you an elder in this community? Are you still that white guy from America? You know?
Yeah, I feel like
Maybe you don't know.
it probably depends on who you ask, actually. Sure. I think in general we are, and we have teammates actually who've been with us the whole time who are Tanzanian. That's the other cool part about this whole thing is we've been so blessed.
You have missionary friends,
missionaries who are Tanzanian.
Oh, that helps.
And they're with us. They're there right now.
Wow.
Anyways, so I from time to time check in with them and ask my Tanzanian brother teammate Augustine, hey, what do people really doing? What do people really say about us? Because they're definitely not going to say, you got a different in than we do.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging to hear that that the people, especially the village leaders and people that are respected, are wanting us there. They want us to stay there. They don't want us to leave.
That's cool.
They appreciate that we're there. And
what about you guys and your kids? They miss it? Do they not miss it?
Yeah, this time, and we ask them every time we're getting ready to go back.
Yeah, I know.
How are you guys feeling?
That's why we're doing this.
Right. And the boys are real quick to say, "Oh yeah, we can't wait."
Miss our friends.
One of our boys actually recently did share though that he's not looking forward to the travel part, but he is looking.
How long a travel is it?
Well, it depends on the route, but at least minimum 24 hours of flying, just flying. And then you've got layovers. And,
I've been to China. It's similar.
Yeah, but
I'll be I'm going to Italy, Sardinia next week.
Yeah.
It's Saturday, next week, 3 days from when we record this. And that's about 16 hours or so, so yeah.
So add another, 8-10 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for overall, they are looking forward to going back. We've all kind of had, there's a mix though of feelings, we've had some traumatic things happen.
Yeah.
Sicknesses and injuries.
Yeah. You guys have had moments where we weren't sure you're going to make it.
Right. Yeah. We had to be anyways.
Medically, but yeah.
So there's always this sense of like, okay, this time going back, what's going to happen this time? And, and we're just praying, God.
Well, and as kids get older, it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah. And here's a unique opportunity that we do have. We, as in our family there is, and it's just such a blessing to live. We literally are living life together as a family.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Right.
And
this isn't.
Our kids are homeschooled.
Teenagers upstairs on the phone and playing video games, and
our kids don't have phones.
Maybe they'll come down and have dinner,
right?
And maybe you'll see them,
right? So I know that's unique, and it's
they're with you all the time,
right? And
very different.
And so we're, and it's a good thing. And as they get older, we'll see what happens.
I know. Remember who you were.
Where I was. I know.
It might come back, Jeremy.
Right. But it's so neat to be able
have
to
patience. Yeah. Pick your battles.
Right. Anyways, we're thankful and blessed to have our kids just be around our kids.
Is it worse that they get to see this world and go back? Or better? I mean, they're going to have such a cool view of the world. I think it's a gift. I would think it's a gift.
I think it's important. I think it's
they're
important.
going to do something cool.
I mean,
whether they stay there or go work for the UN or go work for
whatever they do,
come back here, whatever they do, they're going to have such a unique perspective about the world that they would never have had growing up here.
Right.
The whole time. They're just not. I mean,
they're
going to be amazingly interesting people. They are.
Yeah. And I think,
that's a great gift.
Yeah. I think it's good that they do get to come back here though, too. And, this is where our roots are. This is our people group.
That's your home.
So
what do you miss about Spokane? What do you miss about this place? And like,
so funny that you say
is it Zips tartar sauce?
It's so funny because
come on,
when we're here, honestly, we get to eat some pretty good food. We have so many options here, right?
I know.
So many options.
I know.
Oh my word. But usually we never choose McDonald's or something.
Yeah, no.
We're gonna go to like Red Robin or something a little bit better.
Yeah.
But when we're there, I actually start craving a Big Mac from McDonald's.
Seriously,
it's like, or a really good burger.
Yeah, burger
with bacon on it.
It's like
that kind of stuff.
I mean, John, even my brother who lives in Nashville, he's like, when he comes back, the first thing he does is he gets a bacon burger and he gets fries and tartar sauce from Zips.
It's probably the worst thing for you.
Of course it is. It's totally horrible.
But it's like it's funny that's what
home.
I kind of I start craving that. And it's funny when we come back here, I never do actually go to McDonald's.
You never go to
It's funny.
You get way better food when you get here.
Right. It's nice. It is nice to be back here though.
Seeing family. I mean, our family's pretty unique.
That's the main thing.
Our family's pretty
family, friends, and just where we don't have to worry so much about if we don't have to worry at all about really what, are we going to get sick if we eat this lettuce?
Wow. Right.
Over there we've got
Do you
typhoid.
sleep better here or there?
That's a good question. I think it depends, honestly. It's our boys actually were saying we've gotten so used to the night sounds in the village.
Which are?
Because our house, there's no windows, right? There's no glass. We don't have glass. It's just screens with, just screens.
And the weather's always warm.
Weather's always warm. For the most part. And so there's no way to,
keep the sound out.
And so you've got crickets and bush babies and, all these
it's a noisy night
wildlife and getting used to sleeping with that. And then we've got fans on us, we sleep with a fan because we don't have AC and it's hot. So all the noise, that becomes our white noise.
It's your white noise, that you're used to. It's probably hard to sleep when you get back here.
So for here, it's so hard, especially for our kids. They have to have, and we've found on
little white noise
on
things.
an iPad or something that we can make a fan noise or something. So they sleep with a fake white noise.
Wow.
Thing.
Wow. So I know one of the things that you did. The last story, we could talk forever, but
sure.
But there was an incident you told me about where some houses got washed out.
Yeah,
kind of a big. Can you tell that story and just how? Yeah, because I find it really interesting. Makes me appreciate what I have a lot.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's a rainy season every year, and what that looks like most of the time is early March through May, end of May, June. heavy rains. We can get rain like, nonstop every day for weeks, if, at times. And that's normal. And this year, what happened is starting back in October, those heavy rains hit and they didn't stop until just last month.
Wow.
So
6 months.
6 months
More.
of heavy rain. And what happened was on
8 months.
Right. Yeah, right. You're right. So anyways, what happened was there in our village was, it was actually interesting on one day, within 2 hours, there was so much rain that places that I've in 11 years have never seen standing water in, like I'm talking about like a football field wide place where people plant their crops, along the dirt road. Places like that were turned in 2 hours. This is literally 2 hours from when the rain started to when it stopped, or when this happened. Massive river, to the point where the water level was up to the roofs of houses.
Serious flood.
So people know where the normal water flows every year during rainy season. So they never build their houses in those places because they know. Right. And so where they built their houses are normally usually safe. So what happened was massive rain hit, and several homes in our village and the surrounding villages were completely destroyed. I mean, like literally nothing left. And these are simple, small, wood poles and mud, thatch roof, very simple
construction
structures. Yeah. Homes, totally wiped out. And so what we did was we felt like, hey, this is a disaster. This is not something that happens normally. These families lost their entire home. I mean, and to rebuild one of these houses is like $400 or $500 US dollars. Yeah. So what we did is we actually we were planning to share this with our network. But we were sharing one evening with, some really good friends of ours who are supporters too. And they
were here.
We were at their house here in the States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sharing about this need and that we wanted to do something about it.
In the time that you've been home here. Yeah.
Right. And so they donated, $2,000 to build 4 houses right there. And so we started this, flood disaster house rebuilding project. And we just finished the 4th one. And I say we as while we're here, our teammates, Tanzanian teammates are there managing that. But one of the neat stories it's just so neat because it's a practical way to help. I mean, we know.
I was going to ask you, how can people help?
We know, well, for one thing, we know that the government there is not doing anything. They're not going to rebuild their houses. And there's no way.
It's probably tough to get a UNICEF in or a World Relief.
Right. And the corruption and all that, the money will never get to the people.
Yeah.
So, this was an opportunity, and it was a real specific, having it be a disaster, because we're always really careful. Like I was saying, that we don't want to just normally
fix it,
be the ones to just come in and save the day.
Yeah.
That's not our normal MO.
Right.
But this was unique, and we just felt like we should do this. We got to do something. And it's an opportunity for people here to
give
help in a very $400 or $500.
How would they do that? How do they get the money to you? How would it happen though? I mean, how could people do, like, let's say I want to give $500 to somebody to help rebuild a house. How do we do that?
Sure. Well, I want to be careful because we don't want to get a whole bunch of money
that you can't deliver on
for this.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, then maybe you don't need it.
So we've got, we could use another, 1,000 or 2, I would say. Because again, this is a limited thing.
They just need to just call me and I'll get Jeremy the money.
This is a limited thing. We're not.
You're not doing that.
This is not like our main thing.
You're not doing
there.
a fund, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But if somebody, we have a website and we started a nonprofit, our own nonprofit.
What is that site
for projects? It's called Abide Ministries. That's the name of our nonprofit.
ABIDE.
ABIDE.
Ministries.
Ministries.org. Yeah. Huh. And that actually has our training center project on there.
Cool.
If people want to give, I mean, now that you bring that up.
Well, hey, man.
If people want to give, that's really our push right now is the training center.
Okay, cool.
If somebody wants to give to the house rebuilding project, I would say if you're watching this, maybe go on that website and email. There's an email link there. Email me first before you give to the house building project.
Jeremy, you're on there.
Yeah, and I'll give you, my email is jeremy@abideministries.org. So
there you
go. Don't, just make that clear. Don't give to the house building project before you check in with me. We just don't want to have a whole bunch of funds come in for that and then not be able to do it. So,
but that's amazing. Like $500.
Yeah. So the other
for someone here is not nothing. It's significant.
Yeah.
It's not even close to the impact that it has there.
Right. Well, here's a story. Here's a story that's come out. The second house we rebuilt, for a family, the husband of the family, the man of the house, came to our Tanzanian teammate and said, this was as we were rebuilding it. He said, "I've never seen love like this." That was his words. Never seen love like this. Where is this coming from? Teach me about this kind of love. Because there's no strings attached to these houses. Right. We just literally we have a team of local guys. Actually, Mackey's on one of the guys building these houses.
Oh, cool.
And it's doing some amazing things for those guys who are building these homes because they're getting paid, right? They're getting paid. But more than that, they're actually realizing that they're part of something that is a completely selfless kind of thing that really does have no strings attached.
And ask for
we are not
back.
Asking for anything back.
Right.
Literally, like, we just want to help you get your house back.
Right. Oh yeah.
So because we care about you.
Yeah.
And so.
But there's always that question. There has to be. And now there's probably, the more you guys live there, the less that question comes up.
And that's just where it has to be time, because eventually they're going to realize, okay, they've been here with us all these years and we haven't seen anything.
They haven't asked
We've
for
never
anything.
seen any strings attached.
Right.
So maybe what they're saying is
I'll
true.
start to believe this. Yeah.
But anyway, all that to say, really what we're doing now is trying to finish the training center, and people can see that on that website. There's a page for the training center. And that's why we started Abide, was to have a good way, a better way for people to give to projects and not have this massive chunk taken out for overhead or other things.
Yeah.
Just to have a way for more of the money to go.
To really go help.
Yeah. So we have it set up right now for, I think it's 98.5% of the donation to the project will go to the project. We've got to keep like 1.5% to cover just some there is some admin.
Well, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean most organizations are 10% or higher, so
at least.
Yeah, and the platform we use covers credit card fees. So if people want to give with a credit card, the credit card fees are covered.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyways, that's a
no, I know
detail there, but
hey, somebody out here might want to contribute. I
wasn't planning to.
I know you weren't. I'm doing it anyway because you need it. I mean, it makes a difference, for the jobs that those guys have and the community that you're in and stuff. How well do you know the language now?
Yeah, so I am pretty fluent in both the local language and Swahili. It's taken 11 years to get there.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it was neat when so the first 2 years were really frustrating. Like am I getting anywhere? I'm not learning.
Because it's not even close, is it?
Oh, it's totally different.
It's not even.
And it's not written. There's not like, you can't like study it, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way we learned it was literally meeting with people and asking them questions and just being around it,
What do you call that?
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah, pointing. A lot of pointing.
What is this? What is this? And then being a part of, we did a Bible story, chronological Bible story translation project where we were translating from English to Swahili to to the tribal language,
just like the old monks.
Anyway, so that project really accelerated the language. But there was one point where I remember I had a dream. This was during year 2, I think it was. And in my dream, I was speaking the local language.
Whoa.
And I was like, and I woke up from that and I was like, oh, so maybe I am starting.
Maybe I'm starting to learn this. I'm dreaming
I was talking in my dream. I was talking in the language.
That's amazing.
So I was like, oh, okay. It was encouraging because I was feeling.
Do your kids have it way faster or
no.
not?
So it's actually been a struggle even for my wife. Just her, her main role so far has been, one of her main roles and time has been homeschooling.
Oh, yeah.
So we homeschool the kids, and she's doing most of that. And so her time has been really limited in interaction and other things that would help her with the language. So communicate, can they communicate? Yeah. And it's, simple and conversational a little bit, but not fluent yet. So yeah, that's kind of been a challenge, I'd say, for her and for the kids.
What do you hope happens in the next 5 years if you got to wave the Jeremy magic wand?
Yeah, and you asked too, what keeps us coming back?
Yeah, what keeps you coming back? Yeah,
I think God really gave us the vision for this training center back in 2018, and a very specific. I had a dream, and my Tanzanian teammate had a dream. I mean, it was just, there's some pretty cool confirmations that showed us this is what we're supposed to do. And so 2018 till now, what is that, 6 years, this has been in the making, but we didn't really start on it until a couple of years ago. And everything takes longer over there and it's crazy. So finishing the training center main room, and we've got some guest rooms we want to build and bathroom, and then being able to get it and some other sustainability projects along with the goats. We want to start a fish farm and would love to do some other things that, again, part of the sustainability of the training center and the ministry there really. I didn't really spend much time talking about the ministry, but we're at a point now where we've got a team. We've working with a team of local Christians now and they've each got powerful stories of how, like Mackie, just miracle stories, who really are the ones who have the vision now of reaching the rest of their people. And so we're primarily, working with them and encouraging and equipping and empowering them to reach the rest of their people with the gospel, with the good news of Jesus. And so, over the next few years, 5 years from now, I'd love to see the training center. Actually, in the next year, I'd love to see the training center built and we start having trainings. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
And we're, trainings in different things, how to dig wells by hand, very practical. We call them bridge trainings, where it's like, in a way, the house building project but instead of just doing it for them, we're training them how to do something that's very practical, and it's something that they really need, that would help them in their daily lives, and yet in those trainings too, have opportunities as they come to share about the hope that we have in Jesus. So again, no strings attached. There's never at all anything forced on anybody. It's just more of an invitation and an opportunity to demonstrate the love of God. And that's we have so many opportunities to do that. And so the next 5 years, see the training center and the training ministry really take off and be Tanzanian lead. So that's where, from the beginning, we're trying to be intentional to not have this thing be dependent on me or anyone that's foreign. That we would really want all of it to be Tanzanian led and run and maintained, and so if we can help start that, really we see ourselves as like facilitators and like just there to kind of help get something going that then can sustain itself.
Do you ever see yourself coming back here at some point for a long period of time, or is that going to be where you end up?
I don't know, man.
You don't even know, right? I guess
here's the
you'll
thing.
get told.
We've always,
I could see you that's your home. I mean, it is your home.
It's home. And
I mean, who cares?
You
always come back and forth anyway, but
yeah.
I just wonder if there's like, at some point I'm like, oh, if I'll go work somewhere else or live somewhere else, or maybe I'll end up, and I'm like, that's probably where I'm going to be. I don't know. You get to a certain age, you're like, that's going to be, I don't know. Maybe you just don't know yet.
We always just take it one.
You're pretty open to
one term. We call it term. Of 3 years. So that's as far as we can go. That we always like praying like God, do you want?
However, you did get your boat motor to work on the boat you built.
Oh, sure.
So that might keep you coming back here.
It's the only thing that I've kept. We talk about possessions, right?
I know.
We don't own a house here.
We don't. The most amazing boat you built, and I'm like, you have a boat?
Yeah.
You live in Tanzania. I'm kind of proud of you for having something.
I think it's only because I built it.
You would not have kept it if you had.
We would have sold it.
It's
a long
time ago.
Boat
though.
Well, I mean, I sold all my tools when I was a contractor.
Wow.
So we've got a few bins. Well, maybe more. 10 bins or so, tote bins of keepsake stuff, pictures and journals and different things.
Not much.
Baseball cards. I still have.
You still have some baseball cards. What's your favorite baseball card?
And we've got the boat. What's that?
What's your favorite baseball card?
Oh boy, I don't even know anymore.
You just have some.
I don't even look at it. It's like just in a bin. My kids are like, Dad, why don't you just sell all those, and maybe that, who knows, there could be something.
Yeah, well, maybe
fund the training center.
They're like, no, those are my cards. Knock it off.
We always heard stories of like
Nick still got all his.
Our grandparents saying, "Oh, if I would have only kept my cards,
my Honus Wagner card,
whatever,
yeah, Nick
Babe Ruth card,
yeah, my Babe Ruth, yeah, Nick still got some."
Yeah,
he still has some. Well, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no,
I'm so proud of you for what you guys have done. I mean, impact. It's helping a lot of people, beyond the kind of mission stuff. I mean, just the perseverance and the toughness and that's a lot, Yeah,
it's been hard.
Yeah, I'm sure it has not been easy.
Been a test of perseverance and faith and, yeah.
And faith and faith and faith.
and just so thankful for all the support that we've had from family and friends. And, it's definitely been a team effort. We could not do what we're doing there without the support, prayer support, financial support, all that, emotional support from everyone. So yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being one of the most interesting people I know. Well, really?
I don't know about that.
No, I do. MIP Podcast was filmed at the studio of Corner Booth Media. Please sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere podcasts can be found. We'd love it if you'd rate, review, and subscribe to help our podcast grow. Be good to yourself. Stay interesting.